Okay, let me just redo those 10 Ableton tips that I wanted to do and explain them how to actually do them. Okay, so tip number 1 is to rename and color tracks. You can rename them but just by clicking on top of them and click rename, or control or command R. Just rename them. Why renaming your tracks is important? You know what each track is. You won't spend time just endlessly searching for something. It keeps you organized and it keeps the creative process simpler. If everything's organized, you can focus your energy on being creative. If you want to change your color, you can just right click, okay, and just choose the color. I use this method. It helps me just to stay focused and use my energy on the creative process and leave the organization for the organization. Okay, so as you can see, I use black for my low end, I use red for my leads, and I use white for my amps, and this just keeps me organized and it helps with the creative flow. Okay, and that leads me to tip number 2, which is group everything. Grouping everything by groups that make sense will help you just, again, keep everything organized, and then you can collapse everything and it's easier to see things, and also you can then process everything together, which kind of glues the sounds together. If you saturate them in the same way or compress them in the same way, it just helps gluing everything and sounds better. Okay, for tip number 3, this is an important one. Never use the fader of the mixer, which as you can see here, for automations. I'll explain why. Because let's say I want to automate something. Let's say I want to automate this volume, the volume of the close heads. Let's say I want to make it come slower in volume, so I right click on the volume here, go automation in new lane, and I just, okay, I want the volume to go here to minus infinity and disappear here. But what happens is now this automation will be in the mixer, and now for you to come here and mix everything in different levels, you would have to, if you move the mixer here, the automation disappears, and if you want the automation to reappear again, you have to click here. But why is that bad? Because that is bad because in the end, after the automations, if you want to remix everything, the loudest phase of your track, you lost that initial mixing you want, right? So instead, what you want to use is put on utility, for example, like I did here, okay? And just use that utility to use the gain. And I'm going to show it here. For example, in this, I used it here. Right click, show automation. Okay, it's already here. As you can see, just using the utility gain as a volume automation is way much better, because then you're able to mix everything with the mixer as it should be. Okay, tip number 5 is, in case you don't know music theory, right? Many people don't know music theory, and that's completely fine, because Ableton is pretty simple to use for people that don't actually understand anything about music theory. I'm not the best of music theory, so let's say I want to make a track in G minor. I usually make my tracks in G minor. It has an explanation, not for this stream though. So you come here, top corner, and you press G minor, and then all the notes that are in that scale will show up as purple, as you can see. And you can even just press scale here, and only the notes of the scale will appear. So that's very helpful if you want to make a track and have scenes play in a certain scale. Just do this, and it's very simple. Okay. Tip number 6. This is also a very important one. Let me see if I can demonstrate it here. Yes. Okay. Remove. I cannot stress enough. Remove the mud from everything. What do I mean mud? Mud in the music realm is usually what's around 100 to 250, around those areas. Okay. You do not want frequencies of certain sounds to exist if you do not need them. For example, when you're using percussion like hats, close hats, let's use them. Let's hear them again. you just want that high end from the hats. You do not need what's below, okay, behind. As you can see, it has information. It even has information here. But this is not helping your track. It's not helping your mix. It's only making it worse. So you just use the section that you want. Most elements of your track, you're going to at least high pass them to around 150. At least. But in this case, I just want the here because it has a bit of character here. But we're not going to be able to listen to this while the leads are playing. So there's no point in having that, okay? So in case you don't know how to do this, just grab a UQ8 or an auto filter. Just go here to the first nodule, select the high pass filter. You can select the high pass filter with the less sharpness on the curve or the sharper one. Depends on your taste, okay? I prefer to use the slower one because it keeps more of that character around the 1K. Okay. So, tip number 7, also a very important one. As you can see, all the tips are important. Is do something that I actually didn't do in this one, or maybe I did, but I already removed it. I probably used it. Is use reference tracks. Reference tracks is very important if you want to check your mix, okay? Because it doesn't really, in the end, it doesn't really matter what is your sound system. If you have really good monitors, a really good headset, if you know your sound system, you just need a reference track. That's it. Reference track and looking at graphs and EQs and also, is it called? The spectrum. The spectrum is also a very good tool. It's basically in EQ, but you cannot alter the frequencies. It's more detailed and you can see the frequency graph. Using reference tracks will allow you to track your mix and see how does it sound. So you choose a track that you think it resembles to your track in terms of frequency range, but also like the style, and so you have that to go back to and have that reference. So for example, I can just drag a track here. How do you add this? I already have this place. You just click here, add folder, okay, and then you choose a location of your computer, and then you have that in the places, and you can always quickly click there, drag your reference track, and bow, and there you have it. And then you just turn it off. I advise you to, if you make your mix for -60 dBs, I advise you to put this around -6 or even a little bit lower, so it's just the same loudness of your track, because you don't want that loudness to trick you, okay? So this leads me to tip number 8. This is not really a tip, it's more like an advice, and it's going to depend a lot on your workflow, okay? So Ableton, in my opinion, is the king of DAWs, so far as I know. The ones I tried, I only tried 3. I mean 4 if you count Audacity, but Audacity is very simple. So Ableton has 2 views, okay? You have the session view, which is the current view we are, and the arrangement view, which is this view. Why is this important? Because you can separate the way you think. I use the session view to sound design, to make the sounds and construct what I think is going to be my whole band. And then I use the arrangement view to make the story, okay? To make my automations, etc. It's just a way to divide the process of music production. So here I'm just constructing the loop, and then when I feel that I have the loop finished, I can just go to the arrangement. Doesn't mean that I won't add samples or other sounds later. It might happen, but the main bulk of the track is done, and then I can move to the arrangement. Okay, one very important tip as well is tip number 9, which is always remember to collect all and save. So you go here to file and you press collect all and save. This is very important. Why? I'm sure that you already opened up a project and there were some media files missing, and like, what the hell? Why? Because you changed the directory of the sample, or you changed the project from place. and so Ableton won't know where that sample is. Okay, so you don't waste hours and hours, because I already wasted hours of my life sometimes because I didn't collect all and save. I make this a habit and just press collect all and save, and bam, bam, and then you're sure that you'll have all the samples in your project. Right? This is very important. And so, okay, it's saved. Okay, and that leads me to tip number 10, which is make your own presets. What is presets? Is something that you always go back to. It can be instrument presets, it can be an effects preset. I'm going to show you here, for example, I have some effects chains that I've done that I know that work for me, right? Some effect chains that I can just drag them. It doesn't mean that I won't change them after, okay? For example, I have this one here, so we have tension effects here, I think. Yes, tension effects. So I just drag it, I know it works, and then I'll make some changes for that specific project. Something that, some stuff that I already use that I will always go back to, and this way you also create your own unique sound. Okay. So I left you some tips. I hope that those tips were helpful. I think at least I didn't know a lot of this when I began producing on Ableton. So I think it's very important for when picking up new software. It's also always important to understand the software, understanding tips, understanding the way you can be more efficient with the software. One quick extra tip is, if you don't know what stuff means, just click this on the left bottom corner, just click this Y button, and this will basically tell you everything about everything. Okay, just experiment, just like, what is this, it will tell you. And sometimes it is good because you won't know. I don't even know everything, the potential that Ableton has. It's a very complex software, obviously. So if you don't know anything, if you don't know something, just put your cursor above something that you want to know about, and it will tell you. It has some information. Okay, so it's very helpful. So let's talk